Hello, my name's David Higgins and I'm the Managing Director of H.R.Higgins Coffee Man Limited. We were founded in 1942 by my grandfather, my dad Tony's father, who's here with me today.
Yeah, I remember visiting my father's premises when I was about 6 in about 1944. I know he loved chocolates, so pairing these teas and chocolates is going to be really special. I'm really looking forward to it.
So we've worked with Iain Burnett, who's the Highland Chocolatier, who's won many awards for his truffles. And what we've done is we've paired 4 different teas with 4 different chocolates. So thank you for joining us on this tasting flight. And we're going to show you how you can enjoy these pairings of teas and chocolates in your home. So out of our very large selection of teas, we've pared it down to 4 different ones. We've tried to select things of varying flavours and things that we found most interesting and really quite surprising in many ways. I mean, a lot of the flavours that we've encountered on while we've been doing this have really taken us by surprise.
And it's been quite difficult because there's so much to enjoy, and we hope you're going to discover it as we have.
So the teas that we're going to start with here are, the first one is our Ceylon Dimbula, which we've paired with a white lime and hint of chili velvet truffle. Then we move on to the Japanese Cherry, which is a green tea, which we are pairing with a white raspberry and heather honey velvet truffle. Then the Earl Grey, which of course has oil of bergamot.
Is that this one?
Yeah, and that one is paired with a lemongrass and hint of lime velvet praline.
And the last one here
is the Masala Chai, which is quite a spicy tea, which is paired with orange and a hint of clove velvet truffle.
Great.
So the first pairing that we're going to try is our Ceylon Dimbula with a white lime with a hint of chili velvet truffle.
Sounds great.
Right. So I'm just going to make enough for us two. Now when you're making the tea at home, we would often measure everything out to the last gram when we're actually tasting tea properly, especially when we're looking to buy a new tea. But for this purposes, just 3 teaspoons for the pot is fine, as this just makes enough for 2. So I'm just going to pour the water in. This tea, we usually would brew this at 100 degrees, as it's a very traditional kind of black tea. So we'll just have to leave that for 3 minutes till it's infused. And when it came to choosing this, it was you were the one who said, oh, Ceylon Dimbula would be a good one, you thought would work with chocolate.
I think it's a real traditional well, English tea, and it's got this rich, full-bodied flavour. And
quite
I thought it
refreshing.
was
It's quite sort of bright and zesty. It doesn't have the really strong aftertaste you get with Assam teas, but yeah, it's a nice afternoon tea. Or any time of the day tea, really.
You could have it for breakfast.
Yeah, black or with milk. I think one of the surprising things we found about pairing chocolates with teas is the impact that the chocolate has on the tea and vice versa, because we all think, oh yes, chocolate with coffee works.
Yes.
But you know, you don't often think, oh, chocolate with tea. So no. I think this was a really interesting and exciting discovery in many ways, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you're having a cup of tea, particularly in the afternoon, you don't only want cakes with it. You can finish with a really super chocolate.
I always sort of assumed chocolates were going to be, well, too chocolatey, for want of a better word, because tea is, yes, tea and cake. We all think of tea and cake.
Yeah.
But tea and chocolates, quite a different proposition.
You can see how the colour has changed since we've been sitting here.
Yeah.
And it won't be long before it's ready for us to. And it's a good idea, isn't it, for one to wait. And we're all inclined to want things rushed in a hurry, but allow the tea its time to brew.
Well, this is an event, and what we're doing is a bit of an event in itself, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of doing this is the main event. We're not making the tea because we're in a hurry to get somewhere.
No, but if you're making the tea, don't rush it.
No, I mean, and you know, we've got these chocolates that that are very rich. That's why we've cut them up into 4 little pieces, because you don't need to be eating too much.
I hope we've got enough.
No, I'm sure we have. I think, you know, with it balances out with the flavour of the tea and the flavour of the chocolate. That's why we've cut it so small, really, because otherwise, if you ate the whole truffle with just 1 cup of tea, I think that it could overwhelm the flavour of the tea.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
But,
although I'd be tempted, but I think you're definitely right.
Well, that's up to the individual. So
is it ready?
It might be about 3 minutes, I think. Yeah, shall we have a go?
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. I always like to savour the aroma before I sip the cup.
Yeah, so when we did this, obviously what we worked out the best way of actually trying these teas and pairing with the chocolates is obviously to taste the tea first, then eat the chocolate, and then afterwards we'll taste the tea again and we'll see what effect the actual combination has.
These Higgins teas are really good. Mind you, I am slightly biased.
Right.
Now, chocolate.
After you.
Oh, thank you very much. Great. It's got a really full flavour. What are you getting in this one, David?
I find you get the flavour comes through at different speeds. So first you get the outside thin layer of chocolate, and then afterwards you get that really intense lime coming through.
Yeah, it's got quite a zesty feeling for me now.
Yes, I remember when we first tried this, it immediately made me think of lemon curd.
You're right.
And the more it lingers in the mouth, the more intense it gets. Then you get that tiny little heat of the chili right at the end.
Yeah, just subtly there, isn't it?
But now, when we try the tea again, we'll see what effect that's had. Because the tea itself is bright and zesty and quite refreshing, because it's just a black tea, so it doesn't have any fruit or any flavours of that kind in. But now, because we've got all that, the lemon is now toned down by the tea. So I've still got that hint of lemon there, but the sort of lemon curd intensity is dissipated because of the tea.
Yes.
And it is rather as though you're having tea with a slice of lemon.
Oh yeah, very Moorish. That's really great.
So the second one we're going to try is Japanese cherry, which is a green tea, and this one we've paired with a white raspberry and heather honey velvet truffle.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah. So again, I'm just going to use 3 heaped teaspoons. Now normally this is a green tea, so we're not going to use boiling water with it. because it scorches the leaves. And in fact, when we're making it, we try not to pour the water directly onto the leaves straight away, but rather kind of around it, because being green tea, they're a bit sensitive.
Do customers have to be very aware of this? Have they got to time their temperatures very closely, David? Or as long as it's not actually boiling, will that be okay?
Well, it depends what sort of kettle you've got. If you've got a kettle that's got different temperatures, obviously you can preset them.
Yeah.
And a lot of green tea, especially Japanese green teas, you can brew as cold as 40 degrees.
Really?
Then you get a very, very strong umami flavour. But this isn't really like that, because obviously it's got the cherry flavour added to it. But nevertheless, don't use boiling water, it's just too much. And if you put boiling water onto green tea, it immediately scorches the leaves somewhat, and you lose that nice sweetness that comes from green tea.
So you've got to be patient with it. Let it.
Yeah, just be a bit
settle.
careful, treat it gently.
For it to get the best results.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the difference between the green and black tea is that in green tea, the tea leaves after picking have been heated to some extent, either by steaming or firing, in order to kill the enzymes to prevent the tea oxidising and turning into black tea.
I find that when I'm behind the counter in the shop, a lot of our customers are very used to and aware of black teas and what they often call English teas, but an experience of the Japanese cherry comes as a new experience to them, but it's an exciting one and really something that they enjoy afterwards.
Right. And obviously for us, when we decided that we were going to pair green tea with chocolate, I think the fact that this one has already a cherry flavouring within it, it lends itself a bit more to the pairing with the particular chocolates that we've picked here. This white raspberry, which is obviously marries in nicely with the cherry and the honey. And honey, in fact, I mean, a lot of people put honey in tea.
Yes.
In quite a lot of places. Probably a bit more black tea than green tea.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this was quite a surprise again. Matching green tea with chocolate. Doesn't sound like something you'd think of doing, but
almost breaking new ground.
Yeah, well, maybe we are. That's the idea.
We want the customer to enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So is it ready yet, or am I getting too impatient?
No, I think we're getting there. We don't have to brew Japanese tea so long. In fact, because you can re-infuse the leaves anyway.
Oh, how many times would you?
Well, you can more or less keep going as long as you want. Obviously, the flavour will change, and you can infuse it for shorter and shorter time. So even 1 minute is long enough.
So you just dry the leaves out somewhere?
No, you just re-infuse the same.
Oh, just right.
Leaves once you've finished.
What a lovely colour.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so obviously cherry, but still with that sweet. The first infusion with the green tea is always the sweetest anyway.
Do you get a slight lemony taste with this?
Well,
I
suppose that really is the cherry combining with the green tea, which has a slightly umami vegetal flavour. We haven't brewed it too long, so if you brew green tea a very long time, obviously, some people find it a bit too like cabbages. Some people say, well, they don't like green tea because it's, it's like, I think it's like vegetables,
right.
But that's
Brussels
probably because
sprouts.
they've just made it really, really strong. Anyway, let's try the chocolate.
And remind me, this chocolate is?
This is white raspberry with heather honey velvet truffle. So for me, the chocolate is very rich up front. The raspberry you can really taste strong, and then you get the honey just kind of coming in afterwards.
Yes,
Gives you
with that
nice,
sweetness at the finish.
yeah, and it gives a nice kind of mouthfeel. very
Absolutely.
kind of
Very
rich.
refreshing with this tea.
And
Beautiful.
then obviously afterwards, trying the tea again. It's interesting how the chocolate is still there,
Yeah.
and and it's somehow the cherry flavour in the tea has become one with the chocolate.
Yes, it's combined to produce a whole
Now that
taste.
the tea's cooled down a bit, though, I'm getting a bit more of the green tea flavour.
Yeah, yes, it's really coming through now.
So it's I think it works really well for me because the tea is such a contrast to the sweetness of the honey.
Yeah, I think that there's a lightness in this tea for me, which is really exciting, especially with the chocolate.
But if you re-infused the tea again and did the same thing, I think it'd be interesting. I think there'll be more of a contrast with the green
Yes.
tea than the first infusion, which is so sweet.
Yes, that the extra time would have given it another dimension.
Yeah, and it's really that's a really good
Very Moorish.
combination. Yeah,
Lovely for the afternoon or evening.
yeah. Okay, so we're now going to move on to Earl Grey, which we have paired with a lemongrass with a hint of lime velvet praline. So,
You're going to measure it first.
yeah. As before, this tea, Earl Grey, is a black Chinese tea, flavoured with the oil of bergamot. Bergamot being kind of orange grown in Calabria in Italy. So we usually use more or less boiling water for the Earl Grey. I suppose if you can be precise, I'd say about 95 degrees really,
Right, yeah.
which is just off the boil. Of course, the bergamot is quite strong in our particular Earl Grey. I mean, we use quite a lot of bergamot, probably a bit more than some people do for Earl Grey. So interesting combination this with lemongrass and the bergamot.
Yeah, I found that some people's experience of Earl Grey, they've made up their minds that they're not fans of it, but when they come and taste our Earl Grey, it completely alters their perception.
It can be. Though I find some people have said they don't like Earl Grey and then you discover they've put milk in it.
Yes, of course, that ruins it.
Well,
we
it
think
does
it
for
does.
me anyway,
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
In the end, you can do what you like.
yeah, I'd never say to somebody, oh, you mustn't do
No,
this. Or you
no,
mustn't
that hasn't
do
been
that.
our line at all ever.
No. And,
But our recommendation is you just have it black.
well, I just think the milk just doesn't work with bergamot.
Or with most green teas.
No, well, it just swamps.
Yeah.
It swamps all the flavour.
I love the golden colour that you get with this tea as you're waiting.
Yeah, and the aroma, which is very pungent. So this is a lemongrass with a hint of lime velvet praline truffle. So obviously there's some hazelnut in there and the lemongrass and a hint of lime, and then we've combined that with black tea with oil of bergamot. So
that's quite a combination.
quite a lot going on, you could say. Yeah, so it's interesting.
A lot to discover.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a lot of layers to the flavour.
Yes.
I think we're going to find with this one. So we brewed this for about 3 minutes, which is what we've done for all the teas so far. So 3 minutes is up. Let's start.
Thank you. Got that bergamot
Yes.
aroma.
Yes, it's it's perfumed, I suppose you could say, quite
scenty,
a bit orangey.
Yeah.
Because it is an orange.
but not overdone.
Because obviously we don't exactly know who invented Earl Grey. There's lots of different theories, and if you go on the internet you find lots of different versions of the story. It's most likely, I suppose, that Earl Grey, he was a very popular Prime Minister, and somebody had the idea of naming a tea after him, so I suspect that's what it is.
It must have been quite a discovery at the time.
Yes. But yeah, traditionally it's a blend of black tea with oil of bergamot. And, so you've had the tea.
Now we're going to try the
Let's have a
chocolate.
go with the chocolate.
Ooh, lovely. Well, like them all, it goes really, really well. The praline's quite strong in it.
Yes, you really get that. I think it must be the outside. I mean, I'm getting the lime now.
I want to have a bit more of the tea.
Nut, lime, and then the lemongrass comes in at the end.
Yeah, it's quite quiet, I find.
But but I can taste lemongrass as an aftertaste. That's what I'm left with in the mouth. It's that
Yes, I see what you
quite
mean.
pointed,
Yeah, subtle,
almost.
but there.
It's almost like it's a very sharp sort of spicy finish to it. It gives it the lemongrass, and now that I've let the chocolate melt on my tongue, the lemongrass is getting even more intense for me. Yes, because when you taste the tea again, the bergamot is there, but the lemongrass is really cutting through.
And as it's gone a bit cooler, I've got more flavour. Really nice experience.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, a lot of flavours, but they actually really work really well together.
Yes.
None of the flavours are all there, but none of them overpower the whole experience.
No, that's right. They all combine very well together.
So we've moved on to our final pairing, which is Masala Chai with an orange and a hint of clove velvet truffle. So we've left this one till last, mainly because I think this is probably the most intense combination of the four that we're trying. Through 3 spoons as before. So Masala Chai is black tea and it's been flavoured with spices. It does have some aniseed flavour in it as well.
Well, when you introduced this tea, David, I was brought up very traditionally with tea, so it came as a completely new experience to me, and I think it's going to be a real discovery with those special chocolates.
Yes, in many ways. Well, I suppose because tea is such a varied product, there's so many different varieties, different styles of tea, green teas, oolong teas, of course, which we obviously haven't tried one of those today, and black teas, and then you add other flavours to them. So in many ways, when we say tea, we're talking about an enormous range of different drinks, essentially.
Far more than many people realise.
Yes, I mean, sometimes For example, I know we've had people coming into the shop and asking for a particular Chinese tea that they may have been to China and bought, and say, have you got anything like this? And 9 times out of 10, well, possibly, but they've identified thousands and upon thousands of teas from China. So the chances of you having something like that,
very remote.
You probably won't find that anywhere else other than in that one place
tea.
you actually bought it. So obviously pairing this with an orange, sensibly flavoured chocolate is, I mean, the orange spice is quite a well-known flavour combination, and the clove in there will be interesting to see when we taste this how that impacts again on the flavour of the tea and what remains having had the tea and then the chocolate and then the tea again.
Because I've always associated cloves with a really strong, dominating flavour.
Well, it can be, yeah, it depends how much clove
it's been used.
You use, but obviously we're working here in a very balanced way, with a subtle balance of flavours.
Again, it's a super colour.
Yeah,
that
very
rich,
warm,
dark,
and the aromas are there. You know, it's very spicy. For the especially nice when the weather's getting a bit colder. You know, autumn, winter. You think of something that's very warming.
A lovely thing to have at Christmas time.
Yes. Yes.
You can surprise your guests and enjoy this special tea. And of course the chocolates.
Yes.
Is it ready yet?
I think so, yeah. Let's pour, just move that out of the way.
Yeah, I'm getting the aroma. And that lovely orangey colour, that's really super. A lot of the experience, the enjoyable experience, is not just the taste, which is of course the main thing, is what we're enjoying it to have a taste, but the colour, the look, the appearance.
Yeah, so we're really using all the senses when we're tasting, not just taste buds.
No.
Obviously, when you inhale the aromas, that also adds to your whole experience, and then obviously the look of the tea, the colours, even the way that the tea utensils feel to handle. So it is a spicy tea, but it's not overly spiced. You can still taste tea ostensibly, but there's that
hint of spice at the background.
Yeah.
It's not overpowering.
No. So now let's have a try of the chocolate.
Oh yes.
So that really is intense.
That's very intense. I'm just having another sip of the tea. But it doesn't overpower the tea, it goes beautifully with it.
So the chocolate is very, very rich. The orange cuts through after the initial hit of the truffle.
Iain's been very clever with bringing all these things together.
Which is just the clove is really just there in the background. It's not overpowering at all. It's ultimately chocolate, orange, and the clove is there, kind of floating around in the background.
Yeah. At first, I hardly noticed it.
And now that's really interesting because the tea has now combined with that chocolate for me, and it's got almost like a cocoa kind of feel to it.
Yes, I know what you mean.
It's actually, what it seems to have done to me is it's reduced the tannin flavour that you got when we drank the tea the first time before we'd had the chocolate. there was more tan in there.
Yeah, that really hit you.
But now
palate.
the chocolate has coated my taste buds. So the tea is really intensely smooth.
It feels smoother than it in that first sip.
But you get a bit, but in a way, you can now, I think, taste more of the spice in the tea after having the chocolate, which is interesting.
Yes.
Before the chocolate, it seemed to be more tea with a hint of spice, and after the chocolate, the tea is much smoother, but the spice is more apparent.
I think that's a winner. I hope customers will try it and enjoy it. I'm sure they will.
So this would be a great thing to do at home with friends, or even online with everybody, you know, tasting something like this for the very first time, and the varying reactions, because we all know everybody's got totally different tastes.
Absolutely.
And there's no hard and fast rule that you can't mix and match, you know.
No, everybody's palate's quite unique.
Yeah, but it's a really, really enjoyable thing to do with other people.
It's really lovely sharing.
Yeah, and arguing.
Yes.
which is what it's all about, isn't it? Whenever we go, and eating is a social thing, and drinking tea or whatever you drink, it's a social thing, and that's
nobody's got it completely right. It's in sharing and enjoying it together.
Yeah, and discovering things together.
Yeah, this would make a really interesting evening or afternoon meeting together.
Yeah, and sharing.
And
sharing an experience.